What's up, guys? My name is Angel. Let's get into it today. We're going to talk about something a bit different today, which will lead back to a lot of other things. So today, what we're going to talk about is fear. Let's get into fear and how fear has shaped us to what we are today. Let's talk about all the things that have happened throughout history that put us in like a state of fear and why I believe we're in a state of fear. So if we look back, I always ask people the question, and somebody even triggered a question too. If let's talk about like the Bible. If the people that were here before us did not have a Bible and did not go by a Bible, what information, where are they at now? What happened to them now? So that's a question I want to pose to you. So we spend so much time believing in this Bible, which is the biggest belief system that we have that instills the most fear. Why? So have you ever gone back and really asked questions of why? What happened to people that were here before us? So science has proven that people were here that existed before us. We found the remains of some Anunnaki. We found the remains of people that date back, I want to say 4 million years ago. So that tells me that we were not the first civilization, that Adam and Eve were not the first people on this planet. They were part of something bigger than what we can put together. Well, I can actually put together. I'll be honest with you. They were part of like the breeding process to reproduce to create another form of humans. So something that's very important is that fear. So let's dive into fear. So when I think about fear and I think about how it transpired, let's look back at the Anunnaki, right? Let's look back Thoki and Lil, Amun Ra, um, Thotmi or Anki, the father of Thoth, and then Lil. Let's look back during that time. So once they arrived back on the planet, we're not going to say that they were here. The first time that they were here, there was their first creation of humans is the first original civilization that was wiped out due to the Great Flood. We know that according to the Sumerian tablets, the Emerald tablets, the Enim Elish, I can never say that right, that they had weapons that were far more advanced than what we've ever created. They were far more powerful than what we ever created. We also know that they used these weapons in a war on their own planet to destroy Tiamat, which in turn is what we like to call the Big Bang Theory. We know that they took these weapons and had a great war. Tiamat had a great explosion, collided with Mars, which was their moon at the time, and that's why Mars has two sides. And we also know that these weapons caused Tiamat to break off. The waters to create was Earth, and we also know that the astral belt is the remains of Tiamat. So this is known facts. We also know that there are over 4 billion different galaxies in our solar system, and that we're only like the size of a grain of salt. So let's go back to the Anunnaki and when I believe fear originally like really set in. So if we look back at the Anunnaki and what they did and what they didn't do. So let's look at Thoth. Thoth was one who wanted to preserve wisdom, ancient knowledge, and give us the tools we needed to be successful. He wanted to give us the right path, so to speak. But the only right path, I believe, is the path within because you know your own path. A lot of us that were already here, because there was a civilization that was already here, they were all over the world. I feel like the biggest civilization was the one in the United States, which is why it's still, kind of mysterious today. So if you think about the United States, we don't have any wars on the United States. And it's very mysterious, especially like with our government system. As much as they know, they keep a lot of it from us. So we have to go within to find this information, which has led us to sources and resources to find the information. And also London. Like if you look at the London Museum, all the artifacts and relics they have the Samaritan Kings list there that you have to see. They have different forms of tablets there. They have all of this information, which tells us that they already know this stuff before we know it. So we're leaning into learning this information. So let's look back at the Anunnaki doing Thoth and his brother Amun Ra. So Thoth and Lil. So Thoth was one who wanted to preserve ancient knowledge. And he wanted to explain, he wanted us to know who we are, why we're here, and what we're here for. Yet you have his brother, Amun Ra, or Marduk, as some of you may see it as, who was not that way. He wanted 100% control. So now you have the split differences between power and knowing thyself, is what I like to say. So Amun Ra, when he first came, he brought what we call the EG people with him. So these people for thousands of years were mind to minds and coal mines and things of this nature. And, to the point they were basically enslaved by Enlil or Amun Ra or Marduk, whatever you want to call them. They were basically enslaved by him. And this is shown on the tablets. This is information that was put on the tablets. UCLA, you can get a copy of the tablets and you can put them in a translator and it'll translate it for you. And also Cambridge University as well. So those are two resources where you can go and find information, this information that I speak of. And if you're a Billy Carson fan, please by all means go listen to his podcast because he talks a lot about this as well. But this is what I experienced, and this is what my thought process is. So some of the stuff will come from what he says, some of this stuff will come from stuff I've researched, and some of it has just come from what I've channeled and intuitive information that I've gathered. Um, so I feel like Amin Ra wanted control of everything. And in order for him to get control of everything, he would be able to enslave all of us, which to this day he technically still has. We're still in the age of Pisces, which is coming to the end at the end of 2024. 2025 brings a new era. We go into, I want to say Aquarius, but I'm not sure. I have to look up that up. So we go into a new season, which means that his reign will end, which is why you're experiencing all these different changes and all these things are coming forth because we're coming out of Pisces season, which was his season. So you have to realize that during their time, they lived like 36,000 years was like 1 year to us. So they lived for thousands of years. So doing this, during their first coming here, they actually had EG people, which EG, I believe, came from Mars. So I feel like when Mars was destroyed, these EG people also needed a home planet. So they came with the Anunnaki, not realizing what they would be forced to do. So a lot of them were forced to work in the mines for thousands of years. And, this is what they did every day. And they got tired of it. They were like, you know what? We are not doing this. So the first account in one of the tablets shows that the leader, they got together and they went to, um, and look, I skipped ahead, but we're going to go back. So just stay with me. We're going to go back. Right now, I'm telling you when I feel like fear first came in. They went to him and they were like, we're not doing this. So here's when you start to have, okay, that let me slow down because I get ahead of myself. This is when he called in. He was like, okay, let me call in my father. My father was his, who was Thotme or Enki. Enki was like, well, let's create a new race. We have people here. Let's use our DNA plus their DNA and create a new race. So I believe that's when fear started setting because, and Lil was in the birds. He was slaughtering and killing thousands of people. If you didn't believe what he said or do what he said, he would kill you. So that's the first beginning of fear for me. But let's go back to the first set of people they created. So I feel like when they first came and they started really, and I think that the successful creation, which is where we are now, was during that time. But I feel like the first creation was not very successful. So the people who originally survived the Great Flood, let's talk about Noah's Ark. He survived because Enki came down and told him, "Hey, build an ark," is what we call it. But if you really look in the tablets and you look at the ark was a spaceship. So I feel like water was what was used to power the spaceships. Because if you look at Tiamat was a body of water. And it's said to have found the blueprints now. And there's a tablet with Noah's Ark on it, which I've not seen it, and I don't think anybody's seen it because it's still being researched and followed, blah, 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 blah. But I feel like this ship he built was ran by water. I feel like it was a spaceship that was able to come up and hover. I don't feel like he had to. I don't feel like Enki gave him the blueprints to do something that would take him to space, but I feel like he gave him the blueprints to do something that would keep him here on Earth, which was build a spaceship that would hover using water. So water is so important. You got to realize we're made of water. The Earth is mostly water. Water is so vital to what we have to do. It's big in Earth. I mean, if you could take a percentage of the Earth's water, with the energy that the water gives off, you could power the world for free. But yet we don't do that. We're paying for it, and that's another rant for another day. Well, I guess I can get into it. You look at like Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla understood like the Great Pyramids were a power source. He understood how the Great Pyramids use water and earth to power the world, and so a lot of his inventions were that. And a lot of his inventions were to power the world. So if you look at his big tall tower, which I think it got demolished, that's what it did. Rods went down into earth to pull the electricity from earth to power earth. But when you think about like what was his name? It's not Thomas Edison. May have been, but anyway, the guy JG, I can't remember his whole name, but anyway, when you look at him, he made all his money by charging people. He had the coal mines, he had the railroad, he had all of these things that were going to be used to make electricity. So therefore, they took Nikola Tesla and they were like, you know what, we don't want your idea because it's free. We're going to lose billions of dollars. I want to keep destroying the earth and pulling stuff, resources from the earth. And right now, these people are working for me. They're in the mines, they're on the railroad, they're building my railroads. I'm a millionaire, multi-billionaire. And during this time, if you had that much money, you were of great wealth. So of course they would, shine him out. And I found it very interesting that when Nikola Tesla died, a lot of his research information went missing. He also visited the Great Pyramids. He also had information on the Great Pyramids. You know, he was another person who would give us natural electricity. And you look at like Albert Einstein, who visited the Great Pyramids, and you look at his formula, E equals MC squared. I think that's his formula. I'm pretty sure it is. I have to look it up. But right now, I'm just, these are what's channel. This is what's coming through. So I'm just putting it out here. That's actually a frequency within our body, but we use it as a mathematical equation. So if we could break that down, what would that tell us? A lot. So him, you look at Da Vinci, who visited the Great Pyramid. All of his drawings are reference to the Great Pyramid, and all this information is out there. You can look on YouTube videos, different videos to see this information. These great-minded people knew what we are learning today, which lets me know that the government knows what we're learning today, but yet they keep it secret. Why? Because if they let it out, then we release fear. If we release fear, we'll realize that a lot of things out here don't serve us, such as the government. Why do we have a government system? Because we have fear. See, fear creates that to make us think we need these people, but we really don't. So that's enough of that rant for today. So let's get back to the first civilization, Anunnaki. So I feel like the Anunnaki were already taking these people as we call cavemen. So the ones who survived the original first great flood, because there was original first great flood. So when a lot of us came here the first time, it was like, I feel like Source was like, this is not what I want. This is not how I do it. You guys are living in perfect harmony. You're creating a planet away from a planet. This is nothing. So it wiped civilization for us to start again. Some people survived, and that's where a lot of information was kept at. Some of these people went in caves or different places and survived. So they were still here. Not everyone got destroyed, but they were able to pass down this knowledge from generation to generation. So then you have the Anunnaki who's here. So they were like, okay, we have, we're going to use these EGG people to mine, but we have these ones here. Let's take their DNA and see what we can do. And if you didn't survive, if you didn't submit to that, then they would kill you. So you kind of had no choice. Like if you didn't do this according to the tax tablets, not my words, but if you didn't do this, then you were killed. So because Enlil was so power hungry, and then you had his brother Enki, who was out here sleeping with mortal women. So that's why. So a lot of things that happened was cast on him, but it really wasn't him, all because he wanted to sleep with what we call human women. But the Anunnaki were human, but they were just a different form of human. So you have fear that's starting to set in here. We're creating what we call fear. If I don't do what someone tells me, then I'm gonna be killed. So I got to do what they tell me, which is to this day still what's happening. To this day, we believe in so much stuff because people tell us, because we have a fear that if we don't, this is what's going to happen, or this is going to happen. But in reality, we don't have to always have that fear, because nothing is going to happen to you. You might lose some friends or family that don't believe in you, or they really, what's the word? Is it really in your highest interest to have those people in your life anyway? When we start to release fear, we start to bring in people that are like minded and like us. And that's what's important about releasing fear. So, you know, we are creatures of habit. And what do I mean by that? So if we're in a family and this is how this family operates, we continue to operate like that versus not operating like that. Versus stepping out and being different. And we have what we call the black sheep in our family. Are we really the black sheep? Or are we really the ones that hold the information that we need to use to get to our families? You know what I mean? So let's look at some of the things that they started to recreate. They started to use this newfound DNA to crossbreed animals, crossbreed different things. You know what I mean? But we claim that they're not here, but a lot of these things are still here. And so we have to realize we live on the outside of Earth. We live on the shell of Earth. What's in the inner Earth? That's what we have to discover. What's in inner Earth? And I feel like if we go in inner Earth, we'll find a lot of information, a lot of things that are still here. Anunnaki, unicorns, Bigfoot, like all these things that we think are not real, they're here. Um, and a lot of them are able to come through portals to come here. And that's why there's been different sightings of mermaids and this stuff and that stuff, because they are here. They walk amongst us. And we're also coming into another age where we're about to see these people. We're about to see all these things. So whether we're prepared or not, you're going to see it. So it's best now we just start preparing to see, because they're here with us and they're walking amongst us. And we just, with your vibration depends on what you see. So let's get back into this fear thing, because I kind of got off track. So if we think about fear and how fear is deep rooted within us. If we start to break down a lot of this fear, we'll realize some of this fear is generational fear that's been passed down. Some of this generational fear is from people who were here during the Anunnaki time, who've seen what happened. Some of this fear is from people who were doing Alexandria, who were women that were burnt at the stake, the killing of that. And some of this fear is deep rooted within our DNA, and it's from our ancestors. And sometimes we have to go back to our ancestors and say, you know what, I love you, I'm sorry for what you went through, but I no longer choose to hold this fear, in order to release that fear. You ever had a situation where you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know why I'm scared of this. I ain't never been scared of this before. A lot of that is DNA fear that's been rooted in from our ancestors, who went through these things that we're starting to go through again, that's being brought back to us. So, and also, let's look at and I said Alexandria, so I want to jump a little bit to Alexandria. Let's look at Alexandria. So Alexandria was recently discovered. So when they discovered Alexandria, they found what I like to call like this thing that looks like a little time box. It was like a box, and it had the sun, the moon, a lot of astrological symbols on it, in which you could tell that they used this to learn the patterns of the moon, the patterns of astrological things, and things like that. So during the time of Alexandria, they had what we call the Emerald Tablets. So a lot of those people in Alexandria were free spirited, free mind. Those were your alchemists who would study alchemists, who would heal people, who would give them medication that were herbal, that was from the earth, because they had all this information. Yet out of fear and greed, I like using this word, fear and greed, um, the Catholics or the Rosicrucians, because they're all the same people, and they came through and destroyed and burnt down Alexandria. But do you know what they took with them? The Emerald Tablets. You know where the Emerald Tablets are at the bottom of the Vatican City, so we can't see them. Some of the most powerful people in the world that hold a lot of this knowledge that they don't want us to know, but yet they know. I mean, I don't know. So you look at when you go back and you really study Alexandria, you'll see some like statues that were found during the Anunnaki. All these different statues that were all over the world. You'll find them underwater in the Vatican City. You'll find pyramids underwater in Antarctica, underneath the ice. There's a pyramid in Antarctica. There's a place that scientists have studied, that all the countries have a treaty that they all study. It's a hole that goes down in the ice that leads inside the inner, but you have to be allowed in that. So they're not allowed in that. So they're just waiting. They're just trying to study this area. But there's a pyramid under there that's powered. Underwater, a lot of things. I look at like Atlantis. I feel like the first capital of Atlantis is the Bermuda Triangle, which is why that is like a very, and I feel like it's still active. I feel like the Anunnaki and those people are able to live underwater. So I feel like it's active underwater. Um, we're not able to go really under there and see. Like I know that there's a show of a guy who's searching and finding relics, like the actual heart of the Bermuda Triangle. I don't feel like you're able to go down in there and see. You can't get deep enough because again, most of these people reside. The Anunnaki and all them reside in Earth. We're getting ready to see them again. Again, we're coming out the age of Pisces, so things are about to change. Beliefs are being broken, fears are being broken. Everything that you put off is starting to be put in front of you, but you have to face those fears. And I just kind of gave you a little bit of the history of which these fears were kind of set in: burning of Alexandria, the Anunnaki, the killing of human, the creation of us. And you don't have to believe me. You can go and find this information. This information is out there for you and any and everybody. But just know that these fears are about to be put in front of you and broken. We have to face these fears and realize that they don't serve us, so that we can start to ascend or transcend, however you want to say it, so that we can start to elevate our conscious, so that we can bring back in our higher self and integrate our higher conscious, so that we may grow together and be as one, because we're all one. When you go over there and judge somebody else, you got to remember you're judging yourself, because we're all one mind, one sound, one body, one sound. And that's the best part about realizing that fears don't serve us. But that's all that I have for you today. I will be back next week with another episode. I hope that you guys have a great day. Namaste. Namaste. Have a great day.